everybody. Welcome back to Hail Yes, the Detroit Free Press podcast about University of Michigan athletics. I'm Tony Garcia, Michigan basketball and football writer for The Freak, joined as always by our producer and editor, Andrew Burkle. And Andrew, I will be touching, it seems, every corner of this country for this basketball team. We have gone to Los Angeles, we've gone to New York, New Jersey, all the Midwest. We were just in the Mountain West in Denver, and now headed to Hotlanta. The Wolverines, an incredible weekend at Ball Arena. First, they topped UC San Diego. Looked like they'd cruise. Then they had to come back. Then A&M, where they really had to come back, down 10 in the second half. Lots to discuss, lots to do, but the vibes, Andrew, oh my, the vibes, they are high. Welcome in.
Oh, yeah, good to be here, man. This is the kind of basketball that's fun to talk about. And, outscoring Texas A&M 56-40 in the second half. Special stuff. When the bell rings, Michigan answers. That's how you sum up this team at this point, because it doesn't always look pretty. UC San Diego, at times it looked like they, watching on TV, you were watching in person, but I was watching on TV. Like, it looked like they were maybe like a high school or maybe Division III team size wise, right? And it's like, how is Michigan not destroying them? But when it mattered most, they came through. And then, you play a physical big team like Texas A&M and they're able to match them size-wise. So it's really a hard team to pin down, but man, it's a fun one for sure.
Yeah, and I think if we're talking one big takeaway, right, the major takeaway from Denver, I think you just sort of alluded to it. These were two drastically different styles of teams, right? UC San Diego, smaller, scrappier, you call them D3. Four of the five starters were former D2 players, right? This is a Division II lineup that moved into Division I, but this was not, Vlad and Danny, we had multiple conversations with them over the weekend. They're like, look, I totally get why from the outside, they're like, you're 7 feet, they're 6'7", just go down low and hammer them. They're like, look, it's not that easy. That matchup zone, they did not let Michigan carve out room in the paint. They, as the player said, that team did not win 30 games by accident. They didn't win their final 15 games in a row by happenstance. Dusty May said it, Much said it 3-4 times. That team was underseeded. And I Michigan, they're playing really, really well right now. And I believe I think they would have beat maybe, I don't know about A&M, cause that's a really weird style. That would have been a really small versus really big, but another 4 seed, 5 seed, like a Purdue, a Maryland. I think UC San Diego, could have won that game. And clearly against Michigan, they could have won that game. They were up 1 with 2.5 minutes left, and they got to enjoy that lead for all of 16 seconds because Trey Donaldson looked like, I wrote about this, he looked like another number 3 named Trey that Michigan used to have in March that was pretty good. Shades of Trey Burke, right? But it's Donaldson coming off the screen, dribbling into his spot from the right wing, and I think Bill Rafferty would call that onions. Just took the lead right back. UC San Diego did not score again. Vlad, some big rebounds down the stretch, makes both free throws late, and the Tritons couldn't even really get a good final look off. I think they did get an attempt. Reuben Jones got the board, and that was all she wrote. But just general big picture, to go from playing that small style of team, and then that was the late tip on Thursday. Then you had the earlier tip of the two Saturday. You got maybe 40 hours, and against the number 1 offensive rebounding team in the land, Michigan out-rebounded them, outright, not held their own, but they won the battle of what A&M does best. And then once you did that, the job was pretty much finished. A&M has to win one way. Michigan has proven it can win in any of a multitude of ways. And that's what showed, I believe, over the weekend.
Well said. We talked about it ad nauseum of this is what we're circling, the rebounding battle. And it was problematic at times for Michigan this year. They kind of got punched in the mouth on the 2 matchups against Michigan State, where they kind of beat them with rebounding and force, right? For Michigan to not just, hold their own, but win the rebounding battle against Texas A&M, to me, that was no doubt the story of the game, right?
Yeah. It had to be. It had to be, especially because, Michigan was down 10, right, in the second half, but it felt like A&M was kind of imposing its will a little bit to start that second half, but Michigan just flipped a switch. And that switch's name might be Roddy Gale Jr., a switch that not many people knew that the Wolverines had, right? Michigan's done this time and time again. Late second half, other than, you had the 6-game stretch where they were 2-4, but other than that, this team is 24-5 in 29 games. All the losses, very tight, very close, many of them early, right? And so they've essentially won 5 quad 1 games in a row. this team is rolling, cruising, and it started with the tone on the boards. And I think they got that confidence maybe even from the week prior. They beat Maryland 47-18 on the glass, and that's a good rebounding team. So the point was there. Like, we can do this. We can be this team. And Dusty said he did a bad job this year emphasizing his guards crashing to the boards, and they had a number of guards had some very good rebounding games against them. 6 boards for Trey Donaldson, 7 for Reuben Jones, and 4 for Roddy Gale.
Yeah.
17 boards from your wing and your point guard, or your shooting guard, I should say. I mean, that's fantastic work.
Yeah, for sure. And it was something where it was like, I mean, ended up being, they won 48-39 in the rebounding battles. They won by 9. It's like, it wasn't really close by the end.
Close.
And I was watching it throughout the game where it was like, I was like, oh, Michigan's holding their own. They're winning the rebounding battle. I think, at one point it was like around 32-31, but then it just felt like Michigan just got made all the big plays, right? And sometimes basketball is a complicated game, and sometimes it's a simple game. Who's getting to the loose balls? Who's getting the rebounds? Who's pulling down the extra possessions when they matter most? And Michigan is time again, besides that 3-game losing streak to end the season, where, you and I were on the podcast calling it how we saw it, where it's like, this team is not playing good basketball right now. For whatever they did during that stretch between, the season ended on Sunday in East Lansing, and then they went to Indianapolis on Friday and played Purdue and, kicked their butts. Whatever happened in between that time, Michigan rediscovered its identity, and now they seem to be a better team than they have been all year, perhaps. I mean, they're playing really solid basketball right now. Some of it is variance. You need a little luck, variance, whatever you want to call it, to get through March like this, right? Like Roddy Gale Jr. having his best game of the season against Texas A&M when they need it most. That's the kind of stuff you need to happen. I mean, yeah, it's lucky, but you need exact stuff like that to a certain degree as well. Annie Wani, Tate Jones having a stinker against UC San Diego. Like that's the kind of stuff you need to happen, because you can't get through that large of a sample size without a few things going your way. So that's not to discredit Michigan, because they're making the plays when it matters most. But, they're getting the stuff, the magic, right? We called it Michigan magic a couple times. It keeps happening, right? And that is in the DNA of a team that you can't quantify, right? You can't look at Ken Pop.
And it's a good point. I think Michigan players, coaches would probably make the argument that this was just water finding its level. Roddy Gale Jr.,
for sure,
for all of his struggles, is not a 4% 3-point shooter for 2 months, right? He was 1 of 27. That was preposterous. That level of ineptitude, and I respectively, and Roddy would say, that was not Roddy. That was not the Roddy that he's ever been, that he knows to be. And so you could argue that, he said it. He's like, I was due for one of these games. And he was.
Might be understatement of the year.
Could be. But what I loved, first of all, I have headphones on over the hat, but hat off to Roddy Gale. It's hard to not be just thrilled for him, because this man had 2 tough fan bases to deal with, Ohio State and Michigan, both just railing on him for months and months. He talked about it. He's like, look, people called me a double agent coming from Ohio State to Michigan, as if, I think he meant Michigan fans, meaning you're not actually helping us. You are secretly helping Ohio State by sabotaging us. Talk about the most disrespectful thing you could ever say to a player, right? Short of talk about family members and things like that. He got death threats leaving Columbus. He told us about. It has been a brutal, brutal year. 11 months for Roddy Gale at many times, just tough to deal with. And his first points of the game didn't come until 15 minutes into it, when he skied for an offensive rebound over 2 Aggies and just crammed it on them. Then about 30 seconds later, the next possession, he gets a little inside out pass, steps into a 3 from the left wing. Might have been the prettiest shot he had hit all year. It was just it was the middle of the net. And he finally stopped thinking. He was able to he called himself an overthinker. When I talked to him on the phone ahead of the Ohio State game, when he was slumping, he's like, I can't even lie. Yes, I do get in my own head. And finally, he was able to just not think about it. And so the last point I'll make to that end is, we talk about guard play in March, Andrew, all the time, right? And Danny and Vlad were exceptional, as they've always been this year, through the weekend. But, if Trey Donaldson does not hit that big 3-pointer against UC San Diego, he was quiet on Saturday for sure against A&M. But when Michigan was down 3 in the final minute, his final points of his 7, I was right there. This was 5 feet in front of me. that was one of the highest difficulty shots I've seen at the college level made all season. I mean, just like NBA players with body control can be falling and scoop the left and just put the right English on it and get it off glass and get it in. That was an insanely difficult shot. It's a fourth game in a row that Donaldson's hit just a game-changing shot in the final 2-3 minutes. So when you got that, when you have LJ Kaysen, who was just, he was just a microwave of electricity and just shot a jolt of energy into this team in both halves. In the first half, he created 7 straight points and helped Michigan get a little bit of a lead. And then when they were down 60-50, he was in the game and he broke down the Aggies defense. He got into the middle of the lane. Other people could crash. Michigan got some easy looks, set up Roddy with a floater. And then Roddy scored 12 straight of his 26 Michigan career high. And those are 3 guards. LJ, Trey, Roddy, all playing well. Michigan moves on.
Yeah. I think the thing that stuck out to me that you just said was like before the Big Ten tournament, we were talking about Roddy Gale, and it's like he's not shooting well, but that's affecting how he's playing in other aspects as well. Like he wasn't really playing a real winning style of basketball. Well, you talked about how he went up and got that rebound, right? Got the rebound and put it back up and made the dunk, and he sparked the team to a degree too, right? Like it seemed like whether or not he did it intentionally, his focus or his intention to, impact winning in a bunch of different ways. Like that's what it seems like Kaysen does every time it comes in the game. It's like, this guy, I don't even care if he scores. He's like an energy bug out there right now and just providing so much spark. Like for whatever reason, this team is all fallen into place to a certain degree with Roddy Gale finding ways to make plays. And then all of a sudden he's scoring, right? Kaysen comes in the game. He's providing you energy. Like he played, I looked at the box score, he played 20 minutes, I assure you a month ago, they did not expect LJ Kaysen to play 20 minutes in the NCAA tournament in the second round, but they can't keep him off the floor. He's been so good, so it seems like everything's falling into place to a degree, right?
Yep. That is the 4th most minutes that LJ Kaysen had played in a game this season. And one of them was Cleveland State, the season opener. 4.5 months ago. I mean, he didn't see the floor for a month straight. And Dusty talked about how he said he felt he mismanaged LJ this year, trying to coach him in one way and work on some things. He's like, I really should have done it this other way. And I think that other way is just trial by fire, right? And you don't normally do that late in the season, but he has just been so hot and so good. And again, you just said it, not necessarily like lighten up the scoreboard, but just energy plays, helping set things up, a change of pace when maybe things aren't going quite the way they want it to with Trey. And I think the other thing to as you say the phrase like things are falling into place. I don't know that that's total. I mean, I don't think it's coincidental or even fortunate. I think it makes a lot of sense in the sense that the rotation also by injury got shortened. Justin Pippen, who is now in the transfer portal as of this morning. So that's a whole nother thought about the timing of the college basketball season. But
you notice Harrison, all the guys, Charlie May, Ian Birds, they all came in the game. Pippen didn't come in the game yesterday.
Pippen did not travel. Pippen did not travel.
He wasn't even there. So what happened?
He was in concussion protocol. He was in concussion protocol is what we were told. And so He did not travel with the team. And Sam Walters did not travel with the team also. He's been dealing with a back injury since early February. And so what was a 10-man rotation, right? And because sometimes Pippen would get a lot of those minutes that LJ was not getting, right? For Donaldson. So now
recently, right? He was in the Michigan. He played in Michigan State in Ann Arbor, like in a big game.
No, he played. I mean, he only averaged 7 minutes a game, but that's 7 minutes that Trey Donaldson or LJ Kaysen were not getting, right? I guess now it feels like you could say Kaysen was not getting. And then Sam Walters with the back, right? So they were, he'd move into that 3, that 4 role sometimes. And sometimes maybe you're trying to sneak a little extra blow for Danny, or you're trying to get a little extra blow for Trey. And now Michigan's like, there's no time for that. We need we have shortened it. These are our 8 guys. They all fit a slightly different thing. And so it feels like at just the right time, things sort of click together. But again, I don't think, Michigan didn't just stumble into this, right? It was 4 months of trial and error. This was a new team. These were, and also it's a line from up the road and from all over college basketball. But by the time you're in March, freshmen should not be freshmen, right? Like you have had a full season. If you're still using he's just a freshman, of course you understand, right? I mean, it's still a big moment, but you've been seasoned in college basketball for probably 30 some games. It is time to step up and step to that next level. And LJ Kaysen was playing like an upperclassman, right? Not a freshman.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah. And college is so different these days, dude. It's like, when do you think Kaysen was on Michigan State's campus? Like June, maybe? Sometime in the summer.
Michigan's campus.
Why I said Michigan State?
Yeah. But because we were talking about that game. But yes.
Oh my
no,
gosh.
But
he's been there for a long time, right? Yeah. Like he's not real. He's seasoned, is my point.
Sort of. He was kind of, he didn't commit to Dusty like he was committed to FAU. Then Dusty came here, and then there was some movement, and he had to make sure that, that the scholarship, like everybody had to, there was a lot, Dusty was putting a staff together, putting a team together, but he knew that he wanted Kaysen up here as well. LJ had to think about it for a minute, and the rest is history from there.
Yeah, for sure. And obviously, I think, did you have it in the story, or you may have said it in the podcast, but Dusty has talked about how like or maybe they even said it on a broadcast, like he always saw something in Kaysen and really liked him and made it a priority to bring him along with him. When Florida, going from Florida to Ann Arbor, I think that sometimes gets lost on when they're talking about sports, right? Where it's like, if I have in my head, like, hey, I'm going to Florida Atlantic, I'm going to school in Florida versus, hey, I'm going to school in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Like those are totally different, elements, like totally different lifestyles, right? And these kids just believe in the coaches, right? And that you have to have a connection, Yeah,
I don't know. I've always referred to Ann Arbor as Boca Raton North. I don't know about you.
Michigan's Boca Raton.
Yeah. That is where FAU is, right? And so you are going there, as you say, to live a certain lifestyle, to hoop, but the lifestyle is part of it. There's definitely you got to reframe your mind if you're and hey, born and raised in Ann Arbor, still live here. I love Ann Arbor. This is not Ann Arbor slander. But it's not Boca Raton. I think we can all just agree to that. So
especially from a college kid's perspective.
Yeah. Yep. But I'll have a piece coming out here on LJ Kaysen soon. Hopefully Tuesday, possibly Wednesday. Talking about that and just what Dusty saw in him, how he under-recruited. LJ was under-recruited, under-regarded, and Michigan staff knew it the whole way. So, we could go on and on about their talent identification, right? Danny Wolf, bringing Vlad.
We've talked about LJ for way more than we probably anticipated coming in and talking about him, but that's okay.
Yeah. What else from this opening round do you think we need to get to? I think we kind of touched on it. I wanted to mention the guards, about how guards went in March. Wanted to talk about just the different style of play Michigan had to show in these two games in that short of a turnaround. Oh, here's one more. Michigan is unbelievable on extended road trips. 9-0 this year in 9 games when they are away from Ann Arbor for multiple games, meaning not just a one-off like going to West Lafayette. We know how that went, or even the wins, right? Rutgers, Indiana, like when you just go for one or the other. Michigan started the season 2-0 in the Fort Myers tournament tip-off, beating Xavier and Virginia Tech. Then they go to Los Angeles. That is a Big Ten road trip, but it was an extended road trip because they stayed in LA for 5 days. It was a wonderful trip, had a great time there. At UCLA and USC, ripped off a couple wins. Then, just, I guess, a week and a half ago, they go down to Indianapolis, Purdue, Maryland, Wisconsin. They rip off 3 wins in less than 48 hours, and that leads to what they dubbed the Denver Invitational. UC San Diego and Texas A&M in Colorado, 2 more wins. So Florida, California, Colorado, and Indy, 4 states all over the country, 9-0. This team really, the evidence shows that they like to be together, that they play well when they're able to isolate, when they're able to really us against the world. This thing shock the world. I should say that was Michigan's. What they sort of said right before the Fab Five era, and when they won the title in '89, and that's what Terry Mills, who's the color commentator, has been telling the players. I've heard him spoken to him. He's like, hey, we're still telling them to go shock the world, and I don't know. We'll take a break and talk about what awaits them in Atlanta. I don't know that I can pick against this team right now. I don't know if I could do it.
Yeah, well, we'll get to our predictions here shortly. Let's take a quick break. 2 potentially extremely exciting matchups, and the one thing hanging over everyone's head. I talked to our good buddy Sean Windsor, who gets referenced almost every episode of this podcast now, about just how that Michigan State element just feels like it's hanging over this whole weekend to a certain degree too. So we'll get to all that. Let's take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, we are back from a quick break there. Thanks for sticking with us here. Man, you can't ask for more at stake here coming into this weekend. Michigan heading to Atlanta. The team up the road in East Lansing heading to Atlanta. This is not some, hey, we're both playing at some site because it's close to home and, we're in different sides of the bracket. No, these two teams are one of two of the four teams fighting for one spot in the Final Four. I mean, it really doesn't get much bigger than this, right, Tony? And it starts with a tough matchup for Michigan against Auburn. But I'd say probably the one seed you'd most want to face right now in a tournament that's been pretty much all chalk to this point.
That feels fair to say, because all these one seeds are playing quite well right now. And Auburn obviously was the overall number one seed coming into the tournament, but they have lost 3 of 4 entering the postseason. And they are now, for what it's worth on KenPom, they are the number 4. All the other 3 one seeds are all rated higher than they are. And so by that measure, yes. Then again, playing Auburn in Atlanta is a task of the highest order. And Michigan will, again, Michigan's been playing great. We've been singing their praises. And I think Michigan might have to play even better to win again, or at least at this level.
I don't know, man. If they play how they played in that second half against Texas A&M, if we draw the line, at maybe like the 15-minute mark or whatever, that's the kind of basketball they need to play. And if they do, Auburn has obviously had, all season long. People were talking about those quad one wins, baby, right? Most quad one wins in the nation. They had that ridiculous out of conference schedule. They played everybody. And then obviously the SEC was brutal this year. You see that even teams like Arkansas, makes it to the Sweet 16 with an upset of St. John's, right? So it's like they played in a really tough conference, but I don't think they're playing maybe their best basketball of the year. Creighton gave them a decent run. And I think Michigan has what it takes to beat this Auburn team. They're not an undersized team. Back in the day, Beeline, obviously legend around these parts and did an amazing job. And some of his teams would maybe be a little undersized, or you're like, it's going to be a bit. This Michigan team has all the bones of a team that can make it to the Final Four. Obviously, if you were playing a drinking game, for every time they've said 2 7-footers or 7-footers during one of Michigan's broadcasts, you'd be passed out by halftime. But they have the size, right? And their guards are not, Donaldson's a little undersized, and we should probably talk about him a little bit too, because there's the reaction from the Auburn locker room of like, oh man, we're going to be playing Trey. I forgot about that. So that's obviously going to be a huge storyline, but there's really, it's going to come down to Michigan's discipline, and can they bring that level of consistency that maybe has been the only weakness of this team, is they find themselves in these late game situations because they don't necessarily take care of business as much as they should. You can't do that. You cannot get away with that against this Auburn team. But if they play to their ceiling, which, that game against that second half against Texas A&M is about as close to their ceiling as we've seen in a while, where they're just pushing around a grown man squad, right? And if they can do that against Auburn, I think they more than have a chance.
Oh, certainly. There is no question that Michigan can beat Auburn. A 41-19 run against A&M over 13-14 minutes. That is as impressive as it gets. My only point was that Michigan needs to play its A game. I think Michigan did not play an A game for the entirety against Texas A&M. I'd say it was a B+ game. It was a very, very good game. Maybe A-. I think you need an A game. And that's not slander to Michigan. Auburn is that talented, right? Just to go back through they beat Houston. They beat Iowa State. They beat North Carolina. They beat Memphis. They beat Ohio State. They won the SEC, and they're now in the Sweet 16 in a home region, right? And they have the front runner favorite for the player of the year in Jonai Broome, who averages a double-double, 18 and 11. Broome versus Wolf, that has to be the number one matchup I think that we'll see in March Madness, unless maybe Auburn plays Duke and you got like Cooper Flag on Broome. That's about the only thing that could top this. And you set it up perfectly. Michigan, they have the size, they have the skill. When they can shoot it, there's no missing piece from this Michigan team, right? That's what we have seen. Somebody steps up seemingly every game, those couple bad weeks notwithstanding. You mentioned Trey Donaldson. I plan on writing about him again here later this week in what we on the beat have dubbed Trey Donaldson revenge game. Just don't ask Trey about it. He does not want to talk about it since he has arrived in Ann Arbor. And now Trey has that dog in him. Like I've said that on here before. He is as gritty a player as Michigan has on this team. Like as MFer a dude as they have. There is no question about that. I've said it before. Former 4-star safety from Tallahassee. This dude is a thumper. He likes to hit. He is about that action. However, it's been very interesting since the day he arrived in Ann Arbor. And I asked him, and I tried to ask him about Auburn, about the ending, about being teammates with Danny Wolf, who knocked Auburn out of it again. I mean, even when you try to bring it up in like a light, jovial manner, don't make jokes with Trey Donaldson. He is not in the mood. Don't do it. Save your breath. And don't even ask him about Auburn. He won't talk about it. And so I'm going to try to peel that onion a little further this week and see what can come of it. But it's a huge storyline. Just don't ask Trey about it.
Yeah. Well, it seems like, I mean, it's not like they ended on bad terms. It doesn't seem like, Chad Baker Mazzaro was the guy in the locker room. He's like, oh, we're playing Trey. It's going to be so fun. Like it seems like the relationships are totally fine. It's just, opportunities, right? And, it's not often that we see, obviously there's so much portal movement, but to go from it's mostly, this is kind of generalizing, but people like Danny Wolf going from Yale to Michigan, right? Maybe you'll see a matchup later. Like that was a possibility, if Michigan or if Yale had beat Texas A&M, but you don't often see a player going from a loaded team like Auburn to a really good team like Michigan and then meeting up later on where it's like almost equals. It's kind of like Roddy Gale Jr., similar situation. It just feels we're still getting used to it in college basketball. The transfer up, I think everyone is comfortable with at this point. Are you familiar with it? But this whole, going from a good SEC team to a good Big Ten team, it just still feels like we're exploring it and trying to figure out, how to tell that story because it just feels so new to us. It's not the NBA, but it feels like, going from the Bucks to, I don't know, the 76ers, right?
Yeah, to a certain extent. I don't know. Maybe now that I've done a few portals in football and basketball, like now it's starting to feel a little more familiar. And I think you hit the nail on the head when you started it. It's about opportunity. This is no longer like all these programs play on all the major networks. They all have money. You're going to get all the swag, all the gear. This is a very individual about where coaches say you could fit, what they see your role being, and things of that nature. So, I don't know that Trey said, oh, Auburn is some bad program and Michigan is an amazing program and I'm going to go do that, right? I think he saw a better fit for himself and bet on himself, and he made a pretty good bet because he's in exactly the same spot his former team is in, and he gets to go head to head with him.
And can you imagine this Michigan team without Trey Donaldson? I mean, surely they probably would have gone and got, they would have had to get someone else at point guard, right? But like this team feels like it's just not even, it wouldn't be what it is without Trey. It's Danny, it's Vlad, and it's Trey. And those are the three pillars. And, we might be underselling Vlad a little bit too. I was looking and, I was thinking about it like, dude, he against the best rebounding team in the country, he goes 23 and 12 with 3 blocks. Like as great as Roddy Gale was, they do not win that game without Vlad Golden.
Oh, no, certainly. I mean, they don't get out of the weekend without Vlad Golden both games. Even late UC San Diego, he had some big rebounds, block shot in the final minute and a half. Michigan was up 1 with 30 seconds left, and a 7-1 center drills 2 free throws. I mean, it's now what we've come to expect. But no, hey, there is no underselling Vlad Golden on this side of the screen. On our USA Today all conference team, I had him first team. I have said on this podcast, and I don't know if I've written it, but if we do a recap, I probably will. Vlad Golden was this team's best player this year. He was their most consistent certainly from the start of Big Ten play, but even after those first 6 games where Vlad had a little bit of a slow start, there have been 30 games since then. He's averaging like 20 and 8 over the last 30. He's just every night it is hot, it is efficient, and it's high it's volume and it's efficient. He just fills up the stat sheet.
Everyone knows he's good. That wasn't my point. Like, oh, breaking news, Vlad Golden good. No, my point was like that. Like we know. Like we talk about Danny Wolf because he's so unique, right? Especially maybe I'm guilty of it. It's just like you watch the broadcast. He's just like such a unique style player. Trey Donaldson, they need Trey Donaldson so much to to be the version that he can be to go, even this far in March. But it's almost like Vlad, because he's so darn good, he gets taken for granted sometimes, where it's like, yeah, he's going to score somewhere between, 16 and 24, 25. He's going to get somewhere between 7 and 12 rebounds, and he's going to do it every game. He's going to make a huge play at the end of these games too. Usually it feels like he wears people down, so I just wanted to say that we can't forget about how important of a part of this team he is,
It's a good point. And I think it's because Danny and Trey are very flashy, right? I mean, his 7-footer whipping passes across the court, right? I mean, he had a baseline pass. I think Michigan was down 6. Was it against A&M? It must have been, as I see it. In my mind, as I'm recalling this play, Michigan's down 6. Danny's driving the baseline. The ball is like out of bounds, like not on the ground out of bounds, but hovering over out of bounds territory. And he one hand whips it across the baseline, just right into the shooting pocket of Reuben Jones, who buries a clutch 3 from the corner. And then Trey making all these plays late, right? And so you got these guys doing things that just stand out. And Vlad is just kind of there in the middle, filling up all the patchwork and all the other little holes. So you're right. I mean, he hasn't had like a big, huge, like aha moment. But everything you've said, I couldn't agree more with.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so we have to talk about the elephant in the room. You want to talk about Auburn?
Auburn, very quickly, 2 minutes. Just mention their players. No, Jonai Broom. They got 5 dudes averaging double figures, and they have 7 players who play 20 minutes a game. So it's pretty much a 7-man rotation. But they have 10 players who play 9 or more minutes a game, but it's predominantly 7. And we've mentioned the 2 names, Jonai Broom, Chad Baker-Mazara are definitely their go-tos. They're both seniors, but this is a pretty senior group. Miles Kelly, Tahad Pettiford, they're shooters. The last 2, Kelly and Pettiford, they shoot almost 40%, 39% and 38% from long range. And beyond that, just to look at the KenPom profile on Auburn, get ready for it. It's really good. Number 3 on offensive efficiency. Number 12 on defensive efficiency. Number 25 in effective field goal percentage for. Number 15 in effective field goal percentage against. They are 5th in the country at turning it over. They just don't give the ball away. They're 30th in 2-point makes, 48th in 3-point makes. They are 7th in defending the 3. 44th in defending the 2, and they are top 5 in the country in block rate at 16%. So they're good on offense. They're good on defense. They shoot it well inside. They shoot it well outside, and they don't turn it over. Other than that, there's a lot of weaknesses to exploit.
Oh, yeah. They're all over the place. It's just that they're littered with the weaknesses besides every single amazing stat you just ripped off there.
They're one weakness. Teams attempt a lot of free throws against them. They're 311th in free throw attempts per field goal. So Michigan could get to the line.
Yeah, and that's good. I mean, it scares you as a Michigan fan even saying now because, Danny's free throws have been a little shaky, but him and Golden, they're going to draw fouls no matter who they're playing. So that's certainly something you look at. They have Chad Baker-Mazara, Miles Kelly, Tahad Pettiford, and Denver Jones all shooting above 30, not basically above 38%, those 4 guys. So they're hand down, man down type crew there as far as if you give them open looks and Jonai Broom draws so much attention. I mean, it's like he is Auburn's Danny Wolf on steroids where it's like, everything you could just feel everything is surrounding him. He's like, he's the sun that everyone else orbits on that team.
The phrase Dusty uses is gravity. It is like there's a gravitational pull that and that's what you need to use teams leverage and their gravity against them. And that was something he actually said that about Sam Walters is like teams had to respect his 3 so much. Teams would be over pursuing, getting to the way, and that would sort of help things.
I mean, Steph Curry is the ultimate example of that as far as the gravitational pull of dudes are literally ripping their hair out, running Tom Cruise style to the corner to try to make sure they can stop Steph Curry from getting open 3. But, there's different styles and Broom is much more of the Danny Wolf, size. And if you get too small of a guy on him, good night,
Yep. And the last point we talked about the 3s. So they're shooting 36.6% as a team, which we just said 48th in the country. That's with 18 games in SEC play, right? So, they are playing really good teams and still shooting it really well. So everybody knows this. You're playing a 1 seed. It's a tall task.
No, that's for sure. And obviously we don't want to get ahead of ourselves here. Do you want to make an Auburn pick, and then we'll move on to the previously mentioned elephant in the room of the what could lie ahead as far as a matchup in the Elite Eight potentially?
I don't know. I don't want to make an official pick yet because I just want to. I want to talk to. But listen, I'll pick Michigan to win right now for the sake of this exercise, because if they don't, then the rest of this conversation is moot. It wouldn't happen. So for the sake of this exercise...
You're a genius. Thank you.
Michigan has won the basketball game.
You're not throwing that out there because you want the conversation to continue. We want the conversation to continue. Plus, you think Michigan does have a solid to good chance of winning this game.
It's a perfectly distinct possibility. I just said I don't feel comfortable picking against them right now with how hot they're playing. Yeah. But picking against Auburn also feels silly. So that's why, I mean, it's as we record this, it's 2 p.m. Monday. We're still, they don't play till 10 on Friday. I'm going to let this breathe just a little bit. There will be, although our boss just sent an email asking for predictions. So they will be in print soon enough. But for the sake of this exercise, Michigan moves on to the Elite Eight.
And the punishment if you get it wrong is jail time. So there's obviously, don't mess it up.
I was wrong about Texas A&M, so.
Okay. So, to our knowledge, I still have not seen it anywhere else. Michigan State have never been in the same region that, as far as we can tell from our research and stuff. So, this is truly a first. They've played in the same site before, but, Michigan, good luck getting a flight. I hope you have your flight booked down to Atlanta, because it's going to be a tough ticket to get down there, because you're going to have Michigan State fans driving from, Metro Detroit in the East Lansing area trying to get down there. You're going to have Michigan fans from Ann Arbor and the Metro Detroit area trying to get down there. I mean, as far as vibes, the energy is going to be outstanding in Atlanta this weekend. Michigan State has a tall task on their hands with Ole Miss, who's now red hot, and they have Chris Beard, a coach who, beat them last time they had a team this good in the Final Four in 2019. So it's not like this is a foregone conclusion, but how do you even sum up, Tony, the possibility of Michigan and Michigan State playing for a trip in the Final Four on the line after the way the things ended in the regular season?
Kind of at a loss for words to summarize it, which is not good, as this is a words medium and we need to find them. But I would say the phrase that pops into my mind is be careful what you wish for. And that is both sides. That is every bit equally 50-50. That goes for every single one of you. Whoever is talking about this, thinking about this, whatever you're hoping for, make sure you know what you're hoping for. Because on our side of things, on the Michigan side of things, if things go wrong again for a third time, now that would obviously sting. But you know what? I'm actually, as I walk it through, it feels like house money for Michigan. It really does. You've already lost it.
You low-key stole my point. You've
already lost it. You've already lost it twice. The season is beyond a wild success. You have a Big Ten tournament title. You go on to the second weekend. You will have knocked off Auburn, right? You are in an Elite Eight. You could make the argument, it's already the most overachieving at this point, if they beat Auburn, the most overachieving, historic, fun, enjoyable, best season in Michigan basketball history. 2013 might have a little bit of an argument there as well. And of course, the title in 89. But even the Fab Five, the Fab Five was expected to be amazing. Michigan just won 8 games 365 days ago. I saw a picture of Will Cheddar, and I remember what his face looked like when he was leaning against the wall in the Young Champions Center in Ann Arbor, which is adjacent to Chrysler Center. And it felt like this program was in complete disarray. And the bottom had fallen out. You could not I can't find the words to describe what this matchup is. You could not find the words to describe the aura and just the sadness around the program. And what Dusty did to flip it in 365 days is nothing short of remarkable. And so Michigan should be a little careful what you wish for, because I don't think anybody the pain of a season ending is always tough. If it ends to a rival, that's one that not many teams are going to be able to sleep off for some time. However, I do think it would be so much more painful on the other side. So much more painful, because this is Izzo. He's done it 30 years. He was the coach of the year. They won the league outright by 3 games. They felt like they had finally had climbed the mountain again. They're back. Michigan State is back on top of the Big Ten as we know it. Well, maybe not so fast, right? There are 4 teams still alive from the conference in the postseason. And if Michigan can beat you head-to-head when it really, really matters, of course the game in East Lansing mattered, of course the game in Ann Arbor mattered, but the only thing you could compare it to, and it's actually slightly short of that, but that's because nobody's retiring here, we don't think, when North Carolina and Duke met in the Final Four and North Carolina ended Coach K's career a couple years ago, I mean, that was just after they beat them in Durham in the regular season finale to ruin senior night, to ruin the final thing, the final moment that he was supposed to have in Coach K's final home game. So this might be the 1B to that, but this could be one of the biggest college basketball rivalry games this century.
Yeah, and it's all incredibly well said. I mean, you summarized it perfectly. It's just so, I mean, it's so cliche, but like the pressure would all be on Michigan State because, you know, the vibes would just completely have done a 180. And, you know, it feels like 2 years ago at this point where Michigan State and Michigan played in the last regular season game of the year. But you forget, well, that was it was on March 9th, right? That was 15 days ago, you know? And how much things could change in the span of less than 3 weeks, where it's like you feel like you're ultimately on top. You're a 2 seed in the tournament. Yeah, you're feeling great about how things have played out. To, oh my God, Michigan won the Big Ten tournament. Michigan beat us and is heading to the Final Four. We're going home. Like I can't imagine how much of a swing that would be for the program. So whereas Michigan, of course, it would sting to lose to Michigan State a third time and have your season ended. But it's just like, this is so young. Like everything feels fresh over in Ann Arbor, right? Dusty May is just getting started, right? Like you feel good about what he put together in year one. Well, what's he going to be able to put together once he has another offseason and knows his way around the Ann Arbor and knows the Big Ten better? You know, like you have to feel good about where things are heading for Michigan, no matter what. Not that you don't feel good about if you're a State fan, because you still have Tom Izzo and he says he's going to coach until he dies, basically. So, you know, it's not like they feel bad, but there's no way that the runway is not longer in Ann Arbor. So it feels like all the pressure would be on Michigan State, and that can go either way, right? Like some people are are best under pressure like that, and some people, you know, it just it's human nature, right? It gets to you. So we're like I said, we know we're getting ahead of ourselves, right? We know we're getting ahead of ourselves, but you can't not discuss it because it is the story that is on everyone in this state who's a basketball fan's mind.
And for what it's worth, I mean, the Michigan players said they welcome it. They want another shot at Michigan State. And I'm not surprised. Of course, I mean, you would think competitors would. I mean, it would just be, again, I mean, if either of these teams are doing what we're doing and looking ahead, then there won't be a game. Right? I mean, Ole Miss will beat Michigan State, or Auburn will beat Michigan. However,
or both.
Or both. But if these teams actually dial in, as we know they're capable of, I would put this matchup at about a 33% chance of happening, maybe 40, which sounds like not high. That's extremely high. That is unbelievably high. Like, that's really, really close.
The models wouldn't put it that high, but they aren't watching the teams all year. Like Michigan State is a 2.5. I literally just checked a few minutes ago. Michigan State is a 2.5 point favorite over Ole Miss, and Michigan is an 8.5 point underdog against Auburn. So, you know, by the numbers, Michigan State is basically like 52, 55% chance maybe. If it's a 2.5 point.
I'd call that almost 60.
Okay. Close to 60.
Let's round it up to 60 just to be generous. And Michigan
is probably around 30. Yeah, 20 maybe. Yeah. 8.5 is 20%. I mean, that's just us literally throwing numbers at the wall. This is not, you know, math people would probably be ripping their hair out right now. But like, it's just to me, it feels like about a 33% chance. You know, there's a chance that Michigan gets there. There's a chance that Michigan State gets there. But the odds of it happening are incredibly high for what we ever would have thought could have been possible. That makes sense.
Yes. And so if it was 60% and 20%, then the actual odds of that happening would be 12%. But we're just talking about vibes, right? What it feels like.
We were going off the Vegas line. We were going off the Vegas line. We were summarizing that up, right? So that's not what we think. We think it's around 33%.
Exactly. And I mean, and the best part about it is that it's Friday. I mean, not that either of these teams wanted to play late Friday, but we got all week to, especially for Michigan is who we're talking about here. I mean, you never want the season to end, right? You don't want these things to come to be final when it's this fun, when it's this good, and to get to play another week of practice, another install, another game plan. It's just, that's why you're here.
100%. Yeah. And look what Michigan did with the time off between Sunday and Friday of the Big Ten tournament. Now they have an extra day because they played Saturday. So they have Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday to get ready for, an incredibly tall task. 8.5 points. They don't throw those numbers out lightly. So, it's not, we cannot undersell Auburn. This is a tough game.
Opened at 7.5.
So you do not want to take them lightly, but how do you bet against a red hot Michigan squad like this right now?
That's what I'm debating. That is exactly what I'm debating. But no, we'll talk. There's going to be a ton of coverage coming, obviously, freak.com. I'm headed down to Atlanta on Wednesday. There will be practice Thursday, games Friday. We hope practice Saturday for a game Sunday. But I imagine, unless both teams are gone, I think I'll be in Atlanta the whole weekend, just for whatever happens. And of course, everybody listening to this is hoping that I'm just doing my normal job, which is covering the Michigan Wolverines. And that would be mighty fun to get to do in an Elite Eight. And so I think that's where we will leave it.
Yeah, sounds good, dude. And it's going to be a heck of a week. I'm excited to see all your coverage, and you get back, just getting settled in. You're going to be hit the road soon. And I mean, you couldn't ask for a more fun weekend ahead. So as always, thanks to everyone who listened, and be sure to download the episodes, subscribe to the show, watch our clips on the Free Press at the top of our articles. Tony, I checked the numbers on those the other day. People are watching those, man. Like tens of thousands of people are watching those clips at the top of episodes. So, maybe if you saw the clip, check out the whole podcast too, because, I think if you like those, you'll definitely like the whole show and really, rolling up the sleeves and getting the nitty gritty of Michigan hoops here. And before we know it, football will be roaring back as well. So as always, thanks to everyone who helped out. Our editor of the show, Robin Chan. I cannot express to you guys how important he is to the show. Our editor-in-chief, Nicole Avery Nichols, and then of course our sports editor, Bill Bradley. So helping make it all possible here. And yeah, we'll talk to you guys soon. Hopefully, like Tony said, we're back on Monday and talking about, more hoops and another practice. We'll talk to you guys then, and enjoy the games, man. It should be fun.